Okay, I think we're all here. Let me get this straight. Okay, so good morning, everybody. We are very lucky to have one of my favorite people in the mortgage business, Michael Fischer. He is somebody who is just always giving and always helping in the mortgage community. He started Mortgage MLO Network, which is just a fantastic Facebook group. What are there, like 9,000 members or something now, Michael?
I think we're up to close to 11.
11,000. Wow.
Yeah. And, if anybody on this call is not in, you're welcome to join Mortgage Loan Officer Network. Search for the group, request to join. It does ask you to give your NMLS. We just try to screen people to make sure we're not letting
Absolutely.
So,
I do it exactly the same way. And also, Michael is probably even better known for being the founder of, is it Veterans Mortgage Advisors?
Veteran Mortgage Advisor. Yeah, I keep
Correct.
it singular, not plural. Veteranmortgageadvisor.com. Veteran Mortgage Advisor is the program. Yep.
So Michael is pretty much the guru on VA loans. So we're so happy to have you. I looked at your resume real quick, and you're 19 years in the business. I'm assuming you did all kind of loans. So why concentrate on VA loans?
Well, that's a good question, Stephen. And concentrating or getting passionate about something, I just want to clarify, doesn't mean that you're going to pigeonhole yourself. I hear that word all the time. I hear people that say they're afraid to put themselves out there under any one particular product, whether it be construction, whether it be renovation, because they think that their customer base or their agent base will think that that's all they do. And yes, maybe they will think that if that's all you ever tell them. But if you have something that you're passionate about that people need to know about, the cool thing is that your passion shines through when you're talking to them or teaching them, or they're following your social media. They want to talk to you. They want to move through that sales cycle level of know, like, and trust. So they start to know you because they see your passion. They start to like you because of your passion, and then they'll give you a crack at working with them or their clients, maybe through that product that you're talking about. And then at that point, they start to trust you a whole lot. And you can certainly tell them, like, hey, if you think I'm good at a VA loan or a renovation loan that's we think is actually harder for most people in the industry, wait till you see me do an easy slam dunk deal. Like seriously, send me your A buyers, because you're going to love our process. And as long as you take care of your own shop and you have a good process and you ask for reviews and you do all the right things from beginning to end, asking for referrals along the way, you don't find that you're just going to be stuck in that spot where people only see you as one product. Conversely, you'll find some agents that will just tell you, like, look, I've had a relationship with my in-house person for 10 years, but man, I got to send my veterans to you, or I got to send my renovations or my USDAs to you or something, because you're just the best. So it's okay to be known as the best at something. And in fact, you want to be known at the best at something, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So that's, my passion kind of started from watching other people that were around me do exactly that, position themselves as the best. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. This person really has a lot of agents following him. This person is all of a sudden doing a ton of VA loans because of all that work and that passion they put out there, making themselves known as the VA person or the VA guru or the expert, the go-to, or whatever you have it. So long answer to a simple question, but I think it's important to throw all that stuff out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I really like doing VA loans. I like helping veterans. But Michael, I'm afraid of, I guess, making that my go-to, because, I'm not a veteran myself. And there's a lot of veteran loan officers that kind of can talk the language and so forth. And they've got to feel kind of a kindred connection with another guy who served. So does that put me at a disadvantage?
Well, here's the thing, Stephen. If you kind of back up and just look at this from the number standpoint, nationwide, some of the biggest VA loan producers are actually not veterans. I mean, you've got folks that you've met through our enterprise, like Charles Vamadeva, Jason Steyer, Alex Jimenez. Just a few examples of people that would crack the top 100 LOs in VA production that aren't veterans themselves. They just have a passion for helping those veterans. And
Right.
I mean, like I myself, I'm not a veteran. I struggle with the exact same question that you're struggling with. But what I realize is that, if I just let these vets bounce around on the internet, they find their way to a big box lender, or I sometimes affectionately say headset jockey, who just doesn't have the level of expertise or support that folks like in this room would have, or this community, because they just do different business differently. It's a different model. Take the app, sling it on down the line. So when we pull up stats all over the country, we find so many vets still go down this path of clicking on the online lender. And the reason why is because of the marketing. So I look at it as, well, if I'm not out there marketing, I'm actually letting our veteran population down, because I'm letting them go to an inferior lender that I know is not going to do a good job. And I know that's one of the biggest problems in my marketplace, is that lenders are screwing the deals up. They're doing a bad job on the loan side. Then the realtors think it's the product. Oh my gosh, I heard the VA said this, or the VA inspector that. They got all this language from these online lenders that are telling them all these lies. So it's up to us to educate the realtors, to set the record straight and show them that the product isn't really the problem. It's the folks who are marketing that product so heavily that don't have the same local lender expertise level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. But let me play devil's advocate for a minute. So most veterans could qualify for a conventional loan. Wouldn't it just be easier just to go conventional? They can do 3% down. Some of them have a down payment. So
Sure. It would possibly be easier, but is that in their financial best interest? Let's say that you have a 738 score right now, Stephen, and you're putting 3% down, and you make enough money that you're not in those affordable products. Where are you pricing that out? Just ballpark, you're pricing that out at what? 5.5, 5.6. You got an
something
MI
like
factor of 0.5, 0.6-ish.
Right.
So, you're comparing that to a VA product where hopefully you can pull more of a 5 1/8, 5 1/4, maybe even less fees. And you're looking at a $300,000 house. Now we're talking about a $200 or $300 payment difference. It's a big chunk of change. Not only that, if rates go down in the future, you have set them up to succeed, because they could refinance with an interest rate reduction loan, one of the easiest loans in America to do, if they had that VA product. So right now, I would argue you definitely should be putting them in the VA loan, because we think rates will go down. I don't want to charge them an appraisal again. And maybe the PIWs can come back. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But especially if they're an exempt veteran with no funding fee, you cannot make the argument that the math is better on a conventional loan than on an exempt veteran. So yes, if the veteran is non-exempt, if they've got a down payment, if the scores are high enough, in many cases, you could look back and forth at those two products similarly. But if it's slightly less of a down payment, if the credit score is not over 740, if the DTI is anywhere close to 50, you're going to win all day long with the VA product.
Well, let me continue with my devil's contrarian questions. So I've got a veteran and wants to use his VA eligibility, got him pre-approved. And the agent said, hey, listen, can he go conventional, because I'm going to have trouble getting an offer accepted that's a VA loan.
Cool. Well, I'm actually kind of prepared for this, Stephen. And if you like, I can just take over, and I've got a good 10 or 15 minutes to talk about. So the folks that join our Veteran Mortgage Advisor program, we go through hours of training before we certify them.
I'm in it now.
And you're in it, you're working through it. As you get through the course, when you get to the end, you'll notice that we're encouraging everybody to teach a class in the local marketplace. And the class that we encourage people to teach is literally called Present a VA Offer the Seller Will Accept. And it starts by teaching the agents the facts about the VA loan that are most often misunderstood. And it helps them learn how to negotiate back and forth with buyer and seller because they actually know what's going on with the VA loan product, process, and the demographics of the veteran borrower. Could you give me share screen access there from your host?
Okay, let me see how I do that. Let me hit the button. Make host.
I think you got to make me host maybe to share screen, and then you can take the host back. Give that a crack. There you go. It should allow me to share screen now. All right, cool. And you can take the host back now if you want. There's a button that says like reclaim host. So, all right, there we go. So when we're out in the real estate market teaching, number one, we brand ourselves so they remember us. This is the brand we use. You guys can use your own personal brand, however you want to do it. I'm guessing many of you have talked about personal branding with other loan officers or programs, but it's kind of important to be remembered for something. So, when I'm out there, I'm teaching it under this brand. I'm talking about myself a little bit as I intro any class that I'm teaching, whether it's a web class or whether it's in person. Like the last 3 out of the last 5 days, I've had live person classes. So when I get into the middle of the class, I open the class up by asking the realtors, hey, have you had challenges getting an offer accepted? What are the concerns that you have? And I listen to them talk, and then I kind of consolidate it. And I'm already ready because I know what they're going to say. And I say, okay, so I've heard you say all these things. It sounds like these are the main challenges in the process. And this is kind of what the perception is on the marketplace. Oh, I think. Oh,
did I mess it up?
Yeah, just give me the host back because I think maybe the settings.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. No. It's typical Zoom thing. Let's try this again. All right, there we go. So I'll go back to that page. All right, so I get to this kind of segment and I walk through and I say, look, these are the main challenges that you hear when you're hearing a veteran can't get their offer accepted. The listing side thinks it's a weak buyer. They think the loan's gonna be hard. They think it's gonna take longer to close. They think the seller's got to pay fees. They think, the vet probably won't qualify because they've already got a VA loan or they had a foreclosure or something was uncovered in the process, or they think the appraisals are just impossible to negotiate. So you can get everybody to agree to that. And they'll say, yeah, these are the problems. You say, okay, let's break this down and let's show how who you work with matters. And, when you're working with a company that has experience, all of these things are actually, or can be, myths. When you're working with a company that doesn't have the higher level of expertise, yes, they may be true, but it's not because of the VA. It's because of the quality of the lender that you're working with. So that's the message out there when you're teaching them is when you're working with quality lenders, these things don't happen. But yes, don't just trust, a call center lender that tells you that's in good shape. Vet them out. So you're teaching them how to interview lenders as you go through this. And part of this, I did this for you guys because you told me these are newer LOs. These are things that LOs ask us all the time. And I'll teach this class to realtors, and I want to kind of explain some things. And as I'm teaching them how to negotiate back and forth between buyer and seller, I'm also teaching them how to identify more vets, how to talk more of the language that relates to their benefits, and how to realize opportunities that they may not have seen before. So I pulled a couple slides from our presentation. We'll probably go through all of them, but this one's pretty relevant because it's something I think you guys can learn something from. In this particular section of the course that I pulled for you is where we're explaining to realtors about how eligibility, entitlement, and qualification work. So number one, eligibility is based on the certificate of eligibility. We always have to have one in the file to do a VA loan, right? You guys all say, yes, class. Yes, Michael, that's correct. We know we have to have one. Now, if a veteran has eligibility, it doesn't mean they automatically qualify, right? So they got to have income, assets, credit, the whole 9 yards. So as I'm teaching the class, I'm teaching the realtors the differences between these words so that when they're talking to the vets, they know what a certificate of eligibility is. They know the difference between eligible and qualified. And they also know what entitlement is. We're talking about entitlement on the certificate of eligibility there. Now, realtors and many loan officers get the entitlement calculations confused and they start mixing entitlement and eligibility all the time. So just because somebody is eligible doesn't mean that they have full entitlement. Like back here on this certificate of eligibility, the entitlement charged shows under prior entitlement. You guys all see that entitlement charge is $36,000. I'm going to explain how that works in just a second. But for now, I just want to make sure that you all understand, very important when you're talking with realtors and veterans, that you really are careful about using eligibility, entitlement, and qualification. You're using those words correctly, okay? So this is more for you guys. I teach the realtors as well, but I just want you to kind of pull something away from this call. Really important that you understand active duty, somebody that's currently serving, enlisted or officer, if they've got 90 continuous days of active duty, that's based after their training, after their boot camp, they've actually been serving for 90 days, they're eligible. So if they're on base and they've been serving for 90 days out of boot camp, they can technically get a VA loan. You'll hear a lot of lenders say 2 years. 2 years is the minimum requirement. If they have retired from the service, they have had to serve the full 2 years. So somebody could technically get a VA loan after day 90, on day 91 or 100, while they were serving on base, active overseas, or what have you, and not be eligible in the future because they didn't serve the full 2 years. So I'm just throwing that out there. You know, you like go through our courses or take other training courses, you'll see a lot of this stuff and maybe learn more. But I want you guys to understand that you know, you'll hear the 2 year number a lot. Just remember, if you're working with somebody active duty, it doesn't have to be 2 full years as soon as they've done 90. Now, if they were in the reserve component or National Guard and they're called up to active duty, as soon as they've served 90 days, they're eligible. So, you know, for example, somebody is serving in the National Guard, they get called up to COVID relief. Up till last year, that activation, because it wasn't overseas, because it was stateside, was called Section 32. They weren't eligible, but man, they just changed that. So pretty much anybody now that's been activated for 90 days is going to potentially be eligible. It's really cool stuff here. Now, if you're working with somebody who most likely is older military and they only served in National Guard or reserves, they may never have been called up. They may have never done 90 days of active. In that case, they'd have to serve 6 full years. So just pointing this stuff out for you guys. I'm sure, you know, if you run into it, you can ask the question at MLO.net, you can ask Steven, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand that more than anything else. Now, when I'm talking to realtors, I go through this briefly just to show them there's different military folks in your town. And I will explain, based on where I'm teaching the class, where they might find National Guard, reserves, active duty, based on Google searching all the different veteran locations that are close to where their office is. And I oftentimes open their eyes to the opportunities and to the veterans that are serving and working in their community. Because a lot of times they don't think about Guard, reserve. They think, oh, I can't do VA unless I'm next to a base. Just totally not true. So circling back, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit because I'm just pulling some slides here and there from their presentation. The entitlement section where I'm teaching realtors, I go through these questions, which I see LOs mess up all the time, but I want the realtors to know this because I want them to be able to have this in the back of their mind. So like, let's say they're at an open house or they're talking to a new customer on the phone and they hear something like, oh, I already used my VA, or I had a VA once, but I lost that house, or I heard I couldn't use VA because VA, you know, I'm buying in this higher price range. All of these things could be true, but for the most part, they're not true. In most cases, you have to understand how the entitlement works. So every veteran actually has 2 different sets of entitlement. They have what's called basic entitlement and they have what's called bonus entitlement or tier 2 entitlement. The reason for this just kind of comes down to how they did the laws. When they first came out with a VA guarantee, at one point, $144,000 was a fantastic purchase price. And so that's how they wrote the law. Well, rather than going back to Congress, because we all know, you know, how long that could take, they decided to pass a secondary act giving veterans the ability to buy all the way up to whatever the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac county limit was. So in our world as lenders, if we start out with the county limit, you know, this is from one of my Michigan classes, but most of the areas that you guys are in, if you're in and around Georgia, are pretty much 647,200. Some of your high costs aren't going to be, but you start with 647,200, you multiply by 25%. 25% represents the VA loan guarantee. Now, if it's realtors, I tell them, don't worry about the math. For you guys, I'm going to tell you, yes, worry about the math. Steven calls me from time to time to sort these things out. He can do them himself now because he's going through training. He's getting really good at them. But let's say, for example, we have a veteran who purchased a home and it was exactly $144,000. And he bought it up here in Michigan. And he was working at Selfridge Air Force Base. Next thing we know, he goes to work, let's just say for the CDC, but he's in the Army component of the CDC. and he's going to buy a house in Peachtree City. This is actually the story of my uncle, by the way. So he takes his house that is in Grand Blanc, Michigan, and he wants to retain that and convert it to a rental property. Now the loan sizes are different, but this is actually what my uncle did. So that property now is no longer a primary, it's a rental, so he can buy a new primary. But the question becomes, how much could he buy with zero down if he wants to do zero down again? Well, the calculation on that is that we take the 25% VA guarantee, which is 161.8. We subtract what he had used on his previous property, which is 36,000 in this case. He's got 125.8 left. We multiply that by 4, that gives us 503.2. He could buy $500,000 with zero down. That's pretty darn cool, right? Now, a lot of LOs would miss that, and a lot of realtors wouldn't know to even ask the questions or let the veteran know you could potentially buy another using VA if it's a primary residence. Now, here's where it gets cool, Stephen. Let's say that he actually was going to sell that house in Michigan, but when he came down to Georgia, all the lenders down there told him he had to sell that house to reuse his VA benefits. But he's a baller. He's got good cash. He's got good money. You know, he doesn't want to put it down because he's a good investor. He prefers to do zero if he can. Well, many people have told him he'd have to write a contingent offer. Many people told him he had to do a down payment, all those kind of things. Here's where, like in the class, I would start explaining to these realtors, look, you can set yourself apart as a realtor because if you're working with the right lender, that lender could qualify him without a contingency because they understand the entitlement calculation. So now he doesn't have to sell. He can write non-contingent. Maybe he puts money down, maybe he doesn't. But you can work around that by doing the same thing that you do on conventional loans. You show proof of assets. You say, look, I got a veteran borrower who has allowed me to share his financial snapshot with you. He's a 770, he's a 15 debt ratio. He's got another house and he doesn't need to sell it. And, you know, he's got tons of money in the bank. He can actually offer an escalation cost, appraisal gap coverage, and we'll show you proof of funds. Your seller's going to net the most with this offer and close the quickest. Does that sound like something we can move to the top of the pile? So we'll start having these conversations with agents in the class as we teach this stuff. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And we're going to run out of time, and I'm going to go over them as I get through with my course, a bunch of stuff about VA loans, but just a couple of things that are really amazing. So Michael, you said that they could buy up to, assuming they've never used it before, 647,200.
Well, that was the one slide we didn't get to. That was the next slide. It's
okay,
actually
go ahead.
unlimited.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, man. You can tell them it's unlimited if they have no used entitlement.
So if they haven't used it, what if they want to buy $1 million house?
It's currently unlimited as long as they don't have any used entitlement. So,
but how much they have to put down?
Zero.
They can buy $1 million house with nothing down.
As long as the lender's comfortable doing it, the VA will allow the lender to make the decision to go as high as they would like with zero down. If the veteran has full entitlement, if nothing is written on that COE as being used or tied up in another house, or if the house that they had, you know, for example, if that was my uncle and he sold that house in Michigan, then he went to buy, you know, in Roswell and he wanted to live next to Steven, so he had to buy in the $1 million price range.
Right.
He could potentially buy $1 million at zero down as long as he sold the Michigan house and restored his entitlement upon closing in that house in Georgia.
Yeah, so that's really amazing.
Powerful. Yep.
So, all right. So I want to be respectful of Michael's time. Does anybody have any questions we could throw at him right now? Go ahead, Nitty.
I just wanted to personally thank him. As you mentioned, as you started, that he's a person who always gives. That is what the image I have of him. I just finished my SAFE training and I messaged him. He didn't even knew who I was and he connected me with you. So thank you, Michael. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah,
and thank you for me for introducing us. So, okay, but go ahead, Laura.
I just wanted to say
that's right. I introduced you guys a while ago and you ended up hiring her, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't even know that. That's awesome. I'm excited about that. I like it.
Go ahead, Laura.
I just wanted to say thank you as well. I found out about the veteran mortgage advisor from another previous Van Dyke LO and researched it all on Facebook, took the course, and I've been doing VA loans here in Clarksville 5-6 years, but there was still a whole lot of information in that course that I didn't know. So that was really good. And Alex is right here in Nashville. So that's my next goal, is to try to meet him.
Awesome. Awesome. So Rich, you served in the military, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I'm
And-
Air Force and kind of passionate about that myself. Go
Okay.
ahead, Stephen.
And I was going to say, have you ever used your VA eligibility?
I've actually used it twice.
Okay.
Yep. And, you know, in whenever it was, 92, when I bought my first home, I was blown away that I could get a 7.5% mortgage. Did you hear that? 7.5%, guys. Okay. So, you know, and it was far below whatever, you know, the market rate was. I didn't have to put any money down. And the home that I bought, you know, my last home, which is the one that I live in now, did the same thing. You know, of course, because it was my second time, the ratios were a little bit different. I learned that in my Safe 20, you know, but it's a great program. It's easy. Luckily, I found people that I could trust that walked me through the process. I do understand from not the last call, but a couple of calls ago, Stephen, that you know, veterans are easy prey and sometimes taken advantage of. So, you know, that part to me is the part where I want to stand out as a trusted advisor and be able to, you know, help people with the best information, help them get through and navigate through the process. So, Michael, are you going to share? I'm not really familiar with your, is it a certification that people were talking about?
So Michael, where do we go to learn more
Yeah, that's what
about?
I'm.
So you can go to veteranmortgageadvisor.com. I mean, if you like, I can kind of show you on another share screen here. If I still have the share screen access, let me try this again. Share screen. All right, I'm gonna have to go to a little Google page here or something of that nature. Sorry, give me a split second here. I'll find it. Got to have a Google page. Here we go. Okay. So if you go to veteranmortgageadvisor.com, it says follow the Veteran Lending Council. Click there and you can actually opt in to get emails from us. When we do things, we try to email people and let them know what we're doing. If you want to see kind of how we teach folks and what we do, you can go watch one of the webinars that we have here.
Have seen us.
You know, we got a little bit of information about ourselves. And then just on the main page, there's a video that explains like what we actually do. And it's really tricky for us sometimes because LOs seem to want to put us in a category, like the category of, oh, these guys teach classes. Oh, these guys do events. Oh, these guys are a community of coaches. Oh, these guys are our scenario desk. What we actually do all of these things. So I would say first and foremost, Veteran Mortgage Advisor is a community, but we ask our community members to become certified before we have them present themselves as Veteran Mortgage Advisors, use the logos, teach the classes, all those kind of things. The concept is to put something together that's not so super expensive that it's going to keep people from doing it, but there's a platform where we're taking what we know works, what we've seen LOs do all over the country, not just by military bases, to position themselves as VA friendly, VA specialists, you know, gurus, experts, whatever word you want to use, extremely effectively. So we're copying the model that we know works and we're showing the LOs how to do it. We know it starts though with making sure everyone's on the same page. So in the beginning, we say, go take the class. And the class is a lot of VA guideline stuff, just like, you know, some of your CE and company training. Most of us have told us it's the best training they've ever had. And, you know, like I've been through calibers, I've been through movements, I've heard pretty much every major company. I've heard from an LO that said they've done ours and it's way better than what their company offered them. But we don't want people to think that's all we do. Like a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to learn VA loans.
You guys are all originators, right?
Yes, we are pretty much all branch managers or originators or, you know, most of us, there's Brad and Eric I have in because they're veterans and they're examples of folks that have been in the industry less than 5 years and are doing extremely well with mostly VA loans. But the rest of us have all been in over 10 years, 20 years. And, a handful of us that had really, really killer years the last 2 or 3 years, like Alex and Jason just crushed it. But our goal is not to brag about ourselves. Our goal is to try to share things that we've seen people doing all over the country. And so, people go, they take the class, and then they come to us and say, well, what's next? So, okay, next thing, we want to help you learn how to teach. So there's videos of us teaching the class. There's PowerPoints, there's invites, there's additional calls for people that want to go, the extra mile. For literally like $50 a month, we do a handful of calls just like this call right here, where we'll coach people through how do you get set up with the state to teach CE class? How do you fill your room? How do you leverage yourself? All these kind of things that we have done ourselves in our markets, we teach the LOs how to do. So,
it's a terrific value,
yeah.
and it's the most detailed course. I feel like I should get like a college diploma when I get through. But I'm in the middle of it right now. But Rich, I have some ideas for you. The first one being try and curate a list of all of your VA buddies. And there's a lot of ways that you can help them and position yourself as an expert and a helper. And we can talk about that offline if you want to. But anyway, I want to thank Michael. He's been terrifically generous today, as he always is. And I should be a graduate probably in the next, give me a couple more weeks and I'll have the whole course done. Everybody's welcome to contact me. Of course, you can contact Michael through his Facebook group, which is terrific. Everybody should be a member of that, MLO.net. And that covers all topics everywhere. But anyway, thank you so much, Michael. And in a weird coincidence, you're in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right?
I'm actually not quite. I'm in Brighton. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm 90 minutes from Grand Rapids ish. So,
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but I know Anthony and your Grand Rapids people, and our company and his company are super friendly in the Michigan mortgage space. And so it's, there's a lot of common connections there. The last thing I want to leave you guys with, I am probably one of the worst people in the world at selling LOs on buying stuff for myself. I actually most of the time let other people do it. If you guys do want to join, just mention that, you came through Steven, and I'll buy you $100 of VMA swag, VMAswag.com. I'll literally get you some shirts.
Nice.
Remember, everyone deployed red shirts that we encourage our members to, post selfies, explain why military awareness is important. And we encourage the LOs to try to do it on Friday, and not to do any kind of stolen valor or to be not be authentic, but to make sure that people understand the awareness, really should be higher in our communities for those who served. And certainly it's important to have that perspective of an advisor. Like if I'm a veteran mortgage advisor, I'm elevating myself above a salesperson. Barry says this from time to time, and it's part of the reason we actually cleared using this name with Barry, trademarks and stuff. We're like, Barry, this is what we want to do. He's like, he was all for it. But elevating yourself to the status of a financial person versus a salesperson. So instead of just saying, oh, all my veterans get $500 off, all my veterans get kickbacks, oh, I have the best rates. That's what most loan officers do. Versus, hey, veterans, I'm going to teach you how to build wealth through your home ownership. There's a whole bunch of things that we can teach you about this. For example, it can teach you how to leverage your primary to turn it into rental enterprise. We can teach you how to manage your debt. All these things that go into helping vets will help you a ton as you're working with realtors and consumers. You start seeing you as the person that knows, that's the advisor. You're not just a salesperson. So whether
Absolutely.
you ever join my product or Barry's product or whatever the heck it is, take those lessons, follow us in MLO.net and keep growing. So
yeah, it's a terrific value. Thank you, Michael. Have a terrific day, and I will talk to you later.
All right. See you guys all in the Book of Faces. Peace out.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay,
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys.